the old world make believe, it's blind and deaf and dumb. But nothing can change the shape of things to come. There are changes lying ahead in every road. There are new thoughts ready and waiting to explode. When tomorrow is today, the bells may toll for some, but nothing can change the shape of things to come. Future's coming in now, sweet and strong. Hey, now I'm gonna hold it back for long. There are new dreams crowding out old realities. There's revolution sweeping like a fresh new breeze. Let the old world make believe, blind, deaf, and dumb. But nothing can change the shape of things. Nothing can change the shape of things. Nothing can change the shape of things. Nothing can change the shape of things to come.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Monday Night. What are we doing, Jeremy?
Monday Night Muscle Car Mania, live from beautiful downtown Wakanda, Illinois.
Yeah, and you know what? We're doing a simulcast broadcast, video broadcast, right?
It's something like that.
It's a little bit different so that you can see us here in our
We're
studio.
kind of playing it by the ear because we haven't done this before.
And, yeah, this is a first. So we're doing this for the first time, so we're going to see how it works, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with it. And I tell you what, we got a lot of catching up to do. But you know what, Jeremy? That song reminded me, that's the reason why we wanted to play it in the beginning, Max Frost and the Troopers, Shape of Things to Come. Because you know what? Tonight's show is about the shape of things to come. So
in the car industry.
Absolutely. In the classic muscle car market, we're talking about the shape of things that is going to come and is going to be happening. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, and we're going to also be catching up because we have not done a broadcast for a while, and it's not because we didn't want to. It's because we're so busy here. It's very difficult and very hard for us to get everything done on a timely fashion. So we're finally getting to the point here where we've got some things caught up, and it's like, okay, we got to do broadcasts, so we decided we do one that is on video. And we're going to experiment and try that and see what happens. We're probably going to melt down on the server bandwidth, which is a big deal there.
It's just another video.
But you're talking about videos too, Jeremy. We just got done doing, what, a 34-minute or 32-minute video?
About 35 minutes on that, the L78 convertible.
The L78 convertible. So if you're looking around at some of our cars on video, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have to sit down, get your buddies, and pop open a beer or a pop, whatever, and watch that video because it's a long one, but it's
educational.
It's educational. You'll learn a lot about the history of Chevelle convertibles, about the 375 L78s, why they're so rare. So that's why we decided to do that video that long. And it was an experience because I don't think I've ever talked for that long before, Jeremy, without taking a break, you know.
And it was all coherent. You made perfect sense for the entire time, and it came out really good. And people get a full education on the L78.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, yes.
Well, Elvis joined us here tonight. So
there he is.
He's with us. He's on the premise tonight. He's a good man to have around. So if anybody gets out of hand over here, Elvis is going to take care of him, man. Anyway, let's start by getting caught up, Jeremy. We've been having really bad weather out here in the Midwest, and I know everybody all over the United States is probably having a lot of bad weather because we're in some weird weather pattern where we're getting Gulf Stream winds that are coming up here and causing all these storms. And I mean, for the last week and a half here, we have just had some awful weather. We've had storms and everything that's been going on all the time, and I mean, it's a mess. We've got floods up here. There's water standing everywhere. Almost every day we've had a thunderstorm or a tornado warning or a tornado watch. And I mean, it's not just us here; it's people all over the United States. So I know that that's been a problem with a lot of people, and it has been here too, because we're not able to go outside. We want to do some more burnout videos. We've got some great cars here to be able to do that, and we also had Risky set to be here. He was coming out to do a race with
the Charger.
Yeah, and unfortunately we weren't able to get him here because of the weather. We can't take a horse like that and take him outside and turn him loose and run him. He might lose his footing, or there's too many things that can happen. So I mean, obviously we've had to cancel that, but I did want to mention it tonight because I know people
were looking forward to that.
Yeah, we've had people ask us about it, and I'm glad they did, because I think it's a cool thing. So
it also shows they're paying attention to the videos.
Exactly. So we're gonna reschedule that, and we're gonna figure out a time when we can do that. And we'll let you know. We'll probably remind you on some of the videos.
A subsequent video.
Or we will maybe talk to you on a future show and let you know. But as soon as it dries up outside, and I don't know how long it's going to be, because we've had over 5 inches of rain here in the Chicagoland area, and to give you an example of what that means, we only had from January through April of this year, we only had a little over 4.5 inches. So we're way over just in 1 month than we were in the beginning of the year through the first quarter. So I mean, it's crazy, man. It's not a fun thing. So hopefully this weather pattern gets more stable, things get dried up, and then we can start having some fun again, right, Jeremy?
It's about time, man.
We're going to be talking about tonight on our show, we're going to be talking about the market, what the status is currently, and where we think that it's going to be going. So that's some of the things that we're going to be talking about here tonight on the show. And also we're going to kind of give you some tips on some of the cars that we feel are the best investments, and we're kind of educate you as to what cars right now are the ones that are really selling and what some of those are about. So we're going to really gear in on that. Also, we're going to be talking about a few other things. So
we got some some viewer email to go through also.
Yeah, I want to do that. But before we get to that, Jeremy, we have to talk too. One of the things that we haven't talked about, because we haven't done a broadcast for a while, is that we have changed to a new server, and that's a very important thing.
Once again,
I want to tell everybody about, because being on a new server is something we had to do. We're getting so much videotape that is out there, and that eats up so much bandwidth on our server that we had to move to another bigger and better server. You want to say a little bit about that, Jeremy? You're more on the tech side than me. That's your bag there.
Yeah, we just we kept on stretching our bandwidth limits at the old location, and we finally had to go to a faster processor, more memory, etc. Dual Xeons, I think they said, with a gig of memory or something like that, and some huge hard drive to hold everything. And what we're doing, like over 30 hours of video a day. And that was just with the real media. Now that we're doing Win Media, it's got to be double that.
And Win Media, for those of you that it's not real techie, and I'm not, but Jeremy is, but that's your Windows Media Player that's in your everyone's Windows. So what that means is we were limited before because everything had to be played through a real player. That was the player that you had to use. You had to download that. Some people couldn't download it. Some people couldn't because of their computers. But now Jeremy's got it set up so that we're doing the Windows Media Player, and because of the Windows Media Player, that means anyone and everyone that's got Windows can access that, right, Jeremy?
That's correct, and I believe there's an Apple conversion for it too. So the Macintosh users can also watch these things as well. And of course, we still have the real media videos as well, so we have both.
And that's a good thing, because when we were looking at our stats before, we were getting on Real Player per day, we're getting about 201 to 205 views per day, and I think that was per video, how many were getting played per day, and we were coming up with an incredible number of on just Real Player alone, it was about 23 hours of video per day. So that is just a phenomenal number. So you could probably conservatively double that. So that's a lot of time that we're being watched.
I kept on getting complaints on a regular basis of people that just couldn't figure out why the Real Player, and many of those people I couldn't help because they it just didn't work. So we have Windows Media, and everyone should be happy now.
Yeah, so I just want everybody to know that we have had some problems, which you always do when you change servers, but we've got that pretty much handled right now. And I know Albert, which is one of our off-site techs, done a great job being able to move the site. Jeremy helped him with it, and we got everything up. If there is anything out there that might be a broken link or something is not working properly,
please let us know.
Yes, let us know, and we'll get right on it. We'll fix it. Now, we do have things that we're going to be doing coming up with our website. We're going to be doing a little bit of house cleaning, which means we're going to make it a little bit more easier to navigate because we have so much bandwidth now on this new server that we're on, so it makes it a little bit easier for us to be able to make the site go and speed up faster. So that's something that we're going to be getting done here pretty soon. And then also we're going to hopefully get that the server, the rest of what we've got going with it up to par, so that everything is working as far as bandwidth, because that's been a big concern because of all of the videos that we're doing. Jeremy, right now, what do we have? About 150 videos online or something?
Probably pretty close to that. Yeah, 130, 100, somewhere close to 150 at this point.
That's just an incredible amount of video tape that we have right now that's out there. So we really need to stay on top of that. And I would say, by the time we keep adding and adding and adding to it down the road, we're probably going to have to get a bigger and better server. So that does throw us off. That's one of the reasons why we've been a little bit behind in getting a broadcast out here, because we've been doing a lot of technical work on the back end. We've also behind on doing some of these cars, and we're starting to get caught up with that now, to where we're going to be putting out a lot more videos here in the next couple of weeks to come up. So we're a website where you need to come in almost every day to check to see what we've got going on, because we do change and update this website on an almost daily basis anymore, because we have so much that's going on here. So
you might say we update it religiously.
Absolutely. And I will say, too, another good thing about that, in terms of stats, we are basically one of the most watched websites in the classic car industry, and I can also say with pretty much knowledge that I do know, as far as any car dealership anywhere, we're one of the most watched that there is for any car dealership anywhere in the world. So I think that's an incredible thing. And we started this website in 1997, and it is just doing awesome.
Out of 40 million plus websites, right this second, during a slow point in time, we're in the 40,000s. And then later on, when we get into the busier season, we're into the 20,000s. The top 0.1% of the websites out there.
Yeah, that's an incredible number. I mean, it's a good thing, and I'm glad we got the server move all straightened out. So what that means now is that we can move forward. All that complication is out of the way, and we're ready to have some fun and do some new videos and do a lot more of these programs. Now, Jeremy, I wanted to read some of the email that we have. I've got to talk about a little of this. We have a email here from Kimmo from Helsinki, Finland.
Wow.
That's a long way away, man.
Hey, Kimmo. Thanks for listening, and now thanks for watching.
And I'd just like to read this. He says, "Hi, guys. Thanks for your great show. I've been listening to your shows and watching your outstanding website for quite a while. Keep on going. Thanks." So, Kimmo, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Tell all your friends and family over there in Finland, please keep watching. We appreciate it. It's the people like you that give us these kind of comments and send them to us that make it all worthwhile for us. So we appreciate that. That's a good thing. It's amazing too, Jeremy, that when we look at the stats program, we have a very unique stats program that we can look and see where our traffic is coming from all over the world. And I believe we have something in the area of over 90 countries right now besides the United States.
I was looking at
that are watching. We also
and there's a lot of offshore traffic there.
Absolutely. We also have a lot of the U.S. military, the folks that are out there serving for us right now. They on their off time are able to come in and use computers and email and whatnot, and they do a lot of listening to the show, and they also watch our videos, and we get a lot of comments from them. And I just want to let them know again that we appreciate what you're doing, and thanks for the great job that you're doing over there in both Afghanistan and our friendly Iraq.
Yep. Keep your heads down and keep that gas pedal foot ready.
Another email here I've got is from Don in Vancouver, Canada. He says, great show. Just learned about you from surfing the net, looking at muscle. Can't wait to your next show. Good stuff, and also nice internet site. Keep the good times rolling. So, Don, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And he is from Vancouver, Canada.
Cool.
I had another one here I wanted to pull out because I wanted to talk about this a little bit. This one is about a comment for a question. I get a lot of these, and I try to answer what I can, and I decided that we would try to answer this email on our show tonight. He says, I have a 70L78 El Camino with zero paperwork, and the car is in bad shape. The VIN numbers match on the block, but the block has been decked. The VIN numbers match, but the block has been decked. Now, I need to explain what that means to people, because they're probably scratching their head.
What the heck is decked?
They don't understand that. Well, decked is when the machine, when you have the top of the block resurfaced, if they let the machine go and don't stop it, the engine ID pad is on top of the block on the passenger side, and what happens, that'll just
gets planed off.
Take all the numbers off. Exactly. Now, what he's talking about numbers, and a lot of people don't know this, that a lot of the high horse cars, for example, have alternate VIN numbers that are located in a different location on the block. So normally you have to go look for those, and that's on the driver's side of the block is where you're usually going to find that. So not all plants did that. A lot of the plants put the numbers up on the pad on the what you would normally see it and where you would normally expect it to be. But if the block was decked and it was milled, it's gone. So now that's what he's talking about. The VIN number's in a different location, so that matches, is what he's saying. So that part is right. Now, he says, I use MagnaFlux at work and use this in inspection method to pull the ID, which is TO814CKO, from the pad. Now, CKO means that's a 70 396 375 horse. So that's very important. And what he's trying to say is that he's basically put some extreme lighting on it to be able to pull it.
Actually, it uses a magnetic field to get the when you stamp that number in there, it puts it into the grain of the block, and using magnetic field and using the current technology, that stuff, they can extract that image of the numbers in the block, even though the front surface has been ground off. It still leaves the residual numbers actually in the block, and you can pull it out with a MagnaFlux.
Right, and otherwise it's not visible in normal lighting. So how do I get this car legitimized or some credibility before I attempt an expensive restoration? That's a good question. It has VIN numbers that match on the block, so that's in a different location, which is a good thing, because then you know that the original numbers match to that. Now, what you need to do is look at the casting numbers in the back of the block. That's another real important part of this whole equation. 375 horse blocks, it'd be 854 casting, which you'll find that's the last three numbers that are in the casting number. So it should be an 854 block. It should say high perf on the back of the block. You will see that there, so that you know that that's right. And you should have a 4-bolt main block. Now, if you don't drop the pan, you should be able to find down by where the oil filter spins on. Above that, you should have a 3/4 inch plug. And the 2-bolt main blocks usually are a 1/2 inch. That's one quick way to tell. But still, the best way is just to drop the pan. So that's something that you would have to do, because now you need to go in and you need to tie in the data plate date with the build date to the back of the block and the casting numbers back there. As far as the pad is concerned, probably one of the things that I could suggest that maybe you might try, and I've done this before, if you get the pad all cleaned off, which it sounds like you do, is to try to put some ink on it. Take the ink and put on it and let it sit for a little bit, and then take some paper and try to pull that off.
Get an impression.
Another way to do that, and I've done this quite a bit, but only with numbers that are on there, but it will help, and I've done it before on some of the blocks that have been decked, is to get a piece of carbon paper. We don't hardly use that anymore, so I mean, it's not like back in the 90s you used to get carbon paper and you use it, put it in between paper and
they still make it. You can get it at Office Depot, Office Max, Office whatever.
Exactly. And that's something that I've done a lot with that to pull off engine numbers. So what you do is take that carbon paper and rub it on the pad and get a buildup of that carbon paper residue that comes off. Now take a piece of Scotch tape and put that tape on the pad and then roll it. Take something and roll it down so it's hard, so that it makes an impression and goes into what areas are there. And then after you have it rolled and you have it really down and secure, then easily remove the tape. With a little bit of luck, you probably are going to be able to remove what's left of those numbers, and instead of doing it through the Magnaflux way, you should be able to see that TO814CKO. So that would be one of the best things that I could suggest.
That's called a tape lift.
But as long as all your other numbers that are on the block ties into the data plate and the build data of the car, and then you said the alternate numbers will match the VIN numbers, I think you'll be in good shape. 73, 75 horse El Camino, there's not very many of them out there. I would just say, depending on the condition of the car, you need to draw a line. You either want to do one or two things. You want to do a body off restoration, is going to get expensive, or do a frame up. Not seeing the car, not knowing the car, I couldn't tell you in which way to go. But I would probably say that you would be better off keeping the frame on the car and doing the car from the frame up, which we call a frame up restoration. So it's basically done from the top of the frame, and the frame is not taken and separated from the body of the car. That would probably be the best thing to do, because it gets very expensive when you start separating the frame and so on and so forth. But if the car really needs it, then I would say you're going to have to do a body off, where you do separate, take the frame off of the body. So anyway, I hope that helped, and I appreciate the question. And any of you out there that want to send me a question, we try to answer them here as much as we can, but unfortunately, trying to do our jobs here, and we're not a big staff here, so I mean, we try to get to you as best we can. We always will do that. So I do want to let you know, though, that we do appreciate it, and if we don't get back to you sometimes, it's not because we don't want to, it's just because it's just not possible time
constraints, just a few of us here. That's why our cameraman today is a box that I modified from x10.com.
Exactly. He's a robotic box. He's a robotic
got
guy.
The little where's the button here? I'll push my button here.
We're going to have to name them something. You're going to have to call them something, Jeremy.
I've got the little remote control that aims it in various positions, up and down, left and right. Works well. I just didn't use their camera because theirs doesn't zoom.
So I've got another email here, the last one. I kind of want to read that, and then we'll move on here. This one is from Danny, and his comments are, and I picked this one out because I think he's got a good point here. We need to talk about it a little bit. I just want to make a comment, and I hope you take it in the humor that I'm trying to convey, which I did, and I appreciate the email. You have done a wonderful job of building your business from nothing to what you currently have today. However, every time I look at your website, just about everything is marked that it is sold. And he says, I mean, how does one buy a car from you if it gets gone as quick as it comes in? Well, Danny, I tell you, I wish that was the case because that would be great. But we do leave some of the cars on that have been sold, and we do have an archive to where all the sold cars go there. All the cars that have videos will always be there, and that's the thing that we started when we were doing videos, either the sold or the available.
We leave them up because it's that way people see what they've missed and the kind of stuff that we do carry as well.
Yeah, I think it's important on some cars. Now, we do take a lot of them off, so what you're seeing on the current inventory available for sale, that is not all the sold cars, obviously, because there's over in the database, I think at this point in time, there's probably about 650 sold cars. So if you're in the current inventory available for sale, that's pretty much where we're at, updating the website on a constant basis. Now, we do have our thoroughbred investment muscle cars, that some of those cars we leave there. There's so much that's going on in the market today. People want to see what kind of cars that we have had in the past. People want to get an idea what these cars are and what these cars are worth. So, and also sometimes we don't price cars because we do that not because we're trying to play games, because I know that gets irritating sometimes. But there is people out there who buy a higher end car. They want to keep that information confidential. So that's one of the reasons why we do it. And number two, there's a lot of, because we're so visible out there on the internet with what we're doing with the videos and the shows like we're doing right now, there's a lot of people out there who gauge what we're doing, and that can affect the market. We come out, we say some things, and the next thing you know, the market changes, and it may not be the same particular type of car or type of quality that we're talking about here. We've got a Shelby here right now for sale for $100,000, and you might be able to find a Shelby that's equipped this way for $70,000 or $75,000 right now, but it's not like this car that we have. So there's a big difference. So I think, I would like to go through on a lot of these cars and price them, but unfortunately it's not possible to do that on every single car at this point in time. And in the 26 years that I've been in business, I've always advertised my cars and put a price on them. But things change, and unfortunately right now we're having to do that. But if you do see a car, I'll give you a tip here. What we try to do is to put on the cars, you won't see any pictures and you won't see a video. What that means is that we have the cars in process of getting ready to be brought here. We do a lot of work on our cars. I'm not saying that every one that we have here in inventory we do work to, but we do a lot of work to our vehicles. Usually every car that we get is not up to the quality standards that I like to see in my cars. And I'm not telling you I sell perfect cars. Again, I want to talk about that because we don't. I mean, I've got probably some of the nicest cars that you're going to see out there for the money, but no car is perfect. And I've seen some of the best restorations that money can buy, and I've walked around them and spent 5 minutes and I've picked on them. So, I mean, I don't believe in that mint, and I don't believe perfect, because there's no such thing when you're dealing with a car that's an old car that's over 30 years old or 40 or whatever. I don't care. They're just still They're not new. They never are going to be new again. So anyway, we try to keep the best that we can here, and I try to keep the best quality that's here. When you see something that's on the website and it comes up and it doesn't have a picture, it doesn't have a video, that means it's out being worked on and we're going to get that car in here soon. So the best thing to do is either email us about it or call Ed and or Jeremy. Jeremy's here now too, answering the phones and helping us out. And that's all you need to do, because you'll get a heads up. We'll tell you it's either going to be a week, or it's going to be a month, or it's going to be 6 weeks, or it might be 6 months, because there is some cars that, just like the L78 convertible that we're talking about earlier that we had such a long video with, that car took us since about the middle of December to get it ready to go.
Just about 6 months to get here.
And, some things you just can't rush. It's either hard to find parts for, or, you can't rush anything. Everything has to be done. We have vendors that do our work outside of the company here, and these are people that we've worked with for years. Some very qualified and good people, and we're always behind schedule with everything that we're doing, because we'd like to get something, get it shipped in here, and get it ready to go immediately, but that's just not possible. So, we try to get these cars done the best of our abilities so that we can go through and I know right now, this is something we were talking about earlier, the weather's been a big factor, and during the winter it was too. Makes it very difficult. I'm not going to take a car out in the wintertime and try to test drive it. So it's very hard for me to tweak some of the stuff in the winter, as to where now we have a little bit more time to be able to get out and drive the cars.
Just take it out and do it now.
And that's something that we're going to be doing is some of those fun burnouts, Jeremy. But
this
anyway,
is a rough job, let me tell you.
Anyway, Danny, I hope I've answered your email the best that I could, and I really appreciate that you did send that email. And I want to say thanks to all the other people too that sent us email. We get different ones on a daily basis, and we really appreciate it, and we do read them. So keep them coming. That's very important. Thanks for all the comments about the show. We're going to try to keep this on a schedule of once a month, that we'll be doing a new show and updating it. We don't do, and we never did, the show on every single Monday night, because it's just it's a situation where it's very time consuming. So we did do every other week on a Monday night, so now we've going to put ourselves into a once a month situation where we can do a show, we can have fun, and like this one that we're doing is very important, and we talk about some of the things that's going on in the market. Wouldn't you agree, Jeremy?
Yep, absolutely. So, and of course, when we have those special occasions, we'll have those special shows, like when we do the Feed the Children broadcast. We have that 40th anniversary for Mr. Jimmy Sands. That person on the next subway, that was Jimmy's daughter chirping at me there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And also,
hi, Rachel.
I want to say thanks again. I talked to a customer on the East Coast this morning that bought a M Code 69 Super B from us, and I know you dealt with him when he was here. He's a very nice man. Dave out there. Nice talking to you this morning. I wasn't here. I was out of town on business when Dave was here. He got a beautiful M Code lift-off hood 446-pack 69 Super B, and I really appreciate talking to a car guy, and I really appreciate talking to people that can appreciate the kind of cars that we sell here. And he was very complimentary about you and Ed, the way that you handled the sale, Jeremy, and I just want to say thanks, Dave. And
Dave, I know you and the family are going to have a lot of fun with that car this summer.
He's got his eye on another car that's in inventory, and I told him we don't have it ready yet, but when we do, he's going to be the first one that we call. So thanks again, Dave. Before we get too far, Jeremy, we haven't done this before, and I'm going to get this out of the way. I just want to say thanks tonight to Custom Antique and Sports Car Trader here in Chicago, PerformanceRestorations.com, BasketGrams.com, BasketGrams.com.
Yes.
TrailConditions.com, and it's not snowmobile season, so
they're a little slow there, I'm sure.
But you can go in there and see some wild posts on there.
Oh yeah.
I remember there was one not too long ago when the snow was flying from Ted Nugent on there.
Yep.
Good old Mr. Ted. So we're going to play a song there from Mr. Nuge. And JJBest.com, and owedmoney.com. So now I've taken care of that, and I can move forward.
You paid the bills. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So I wanted to play, too, a little bit later, Jeremy. You're going to fire up that song. We're going to play a couple Ted Nugent songs. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but he has got on VH1, he's got a show that's out now.
No, I haven't checked it out in a while.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I was watching it. It's kind of like a survival show. And he gets these group of younger people, and I guess the top prize is $100,000 if you make it through the Ted Nugent trial and tribulations.
Sounds like fun.
And also on this particular show, they're giving away, I think it was like a 32 sedan Chevy or something, street rod, that goes with $100,000. But you got to make it through all of what he puts them through, and Mr. Nuge is kind of a wild kind of guy.
Wild and crazy kind of guy.
Definitely has a lot of things that he makes him do. So anyway, I would suggest
energy.
I would definitely suggest that parents that have children under the age of 13 or 14, they don't need to watch it. So if that tells you anything, right?
That means it could be fun to watch.
Well, yeah, for us, but I don't think the younger kids need to watch it, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, what we wanted to do on this show, we wanted to talk about the market, where it's at, and where we kind of think that it's going. And we're going to do that right now. And I just want to show you a little bit here. I don't know if anybody saw this, and I'm going to hold it up. Let me see the cam. There it is. You don't have to focus in on it, Jeremy. Basically, what this is a... see, I don't know which way to go here. This is a new thing. See, now you're throwing me all off, Jeremy. Anyway, this is a half a page that was in USA Today. And it came out in April 26, 2004. So what it says on the top is muscle car remakes pump up prices. So this is a good article, and it's talking about the muscle car market goes high end as demand rises. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this and give you some of my opinions on this. Anyway, the beginning of this article starts out, the Hemi is back, the Pontiac GTO is back. There's talk of bringing back the Dodge Charger as automakers dip into their nostalgic goodie bag to sell new versions of classic muscle cars. Classic muscle cars, Jeremy?
Yeah, I've seen that and heard that term somewhere before.
Sell prices of the original models are skyrocketing. Now, I just, I wanted to say something about that. Classic muscle cars. All right? This is classic muscle cars. All right? This is in print, and this was in USA Today, which is a, big publication.
Almost a month ago.
Everything that is talked about in here, okay, in the beginning up here, classic muscle cars, that's things that we've already talked about on video on our shows. But I want to say that the term classic muscle cars, classic muscle car, was not in existence until October of 1997. Did you know that, Jeremy?
No, I didn't actually.
Classic muscle car and classic muscle cars was something that I created, all right?
Registered trademark?
No, it was the domain name for our website,
okay.
ClassicMuscleCars.com. And I'll tell you why that happened. When we got into the internet and we wanted to get our website going, we were trying to come up with some names. And I've got an advertising background, and I know a lot about advertising, and I've got a radio, broadcasting background, but I'm going back in the day, as my daughter.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, Dad. It's back in the day. And I wanted to get something that was easy to remember, and you would know when you said it what we're talking about. And I think that's important with the internet. And I think at that time, that was during the .com era, and we were getting into this, and everybody that was trying to give us advice was telling us here, you need to take and get NICAB. Well, NICAB is the abbreviation for Northern Illinois Classic Auto Brokers.
Doesn't tell you what it is, though.
Exactly. And I mean, how many people anywhere really knows what NICAB is, right?
Just a handful of people that see the stationery.
And their mentality about websites back then was you want to keep it short and simple, okay? Now, anybody that knows how to type, and I can't type, but I can type a little bit, right? But I could see their point, but then I couldn't, because you know what? Everybody that was coming up with these goofy words and letters and things like that wanted to keep something simple and simple stupid, it really didn't work. And that's the reason why it was one of the biggest reasons that led to the demise of a lot of internet projects that were out there, because you'd put up gosh almighty or something that really didn't mean anything. You wouldn't know what it's all about. So on the internet, and it's come to bear fruit right now, that if you had a domain name that meant what you do in whatever your business that you're in, that it would get to be a successful website. And I knew that. I didn't know anything much about the internet when we first started, but what I did learn, and I grasped it quickly with my advertising background, was that I wanted people to be typing in something that met what we do here. And we did sell muscle cars. Well, I tried to get the domain name Muscle Car or musclecars.com first, but that was already registered. And then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it, because I had to come up with an alternative. And in the time of the 90s, in 97, 96, 95, 94, what everybody was using was classic cars, okay? But classic cars is a broad area, broad spectrum. There's a lot of cars that are classic cars.
A big age range.
And there's a lot of cars that are the muscle cars, too. I mean, muscle cars, even in the 90s, just didn't mean 60s and 70s cars here. They could mean, the 85 or 86 or 87 Grand National, or 85, 86 the Monte Carlo 87 Super Sports, IROC Z28s, Vipers, a lot of the different cars. So I mean, it could mean a lot. It didn't necessarily have to mean that it was cars from the 60s or 70s. So what I decided to do, because everybody really knew classic cars kind of as related to these kind of cars, or
it was just a natural progression.
Chevelle's, Camaros, so on and so forth, we decided to put that together and call it Classic Muscle Cars. So from that slogan that I created, I've got the .com, and that's what started the whole thing. But my point that I'm trying to make here, Jeremy, is that there was not a term to put on these cars until I created ClassicMuscleCars.com.
Obviously, because you've got it.
Exactly. And that has led to search engine categories, and I've seen other shows, which I won't mention, on some of the other cable channels, that now refer to the cars of this era as classic muscle cars. Now, when you hear that, classic muscle cars, you can say, that's a Hemi, that's a Super Sport Chevelle, that's a Shelby, that's a 69 Camaro, that's a 68 Mustang, that's a Mustang convertible, that's an AMX, that's a Z28, that's a Dodge Dart, that's a Demon, that's a Cuda. So you have a visual impression as soon as you say those words, classic muscle cars. You
know exactly what type of car, what age range of car that we're talking about.
Exactly. So that was a thing now that after these years, since 1997, since it created the URL, Classic Muscle Cars and Classic Muscle Car, that is now a term that's widely accepted worldwide to describe 60s and early 70s muscle cars.
So you're saying it's the Kleenex of the muscle car industry?
I guess.
Because Kleenex is a brand name, but that's what everyone calls a tissue.
Yeah, and what is good though is that now you put that .com on it, and you're going to come right here.
Exactly.
And that's why we do a great job. We do a lot of different things here, but that's one of the reasons why we have such a great website, because we're in search engines all over the internet. And we've been in search engines all over the internet since day one, because we've worked it very hard to get good search engine positioning. And I don't think there's too many places that you can go stumble around and put in any kind of keyword and you're going to come up and find us somehow when you're surfing on the internet. It's very important. And it's easy to remember.
Exactly.
You hear it once, you hear it twice. So anyway, that was something I wanted to talk about that was in this article, but what this mainly is doing is really stirring up a lot of the pricing. When you get press like this to come out, Jeremy, it winds up putting the market into a higher level on a lot of cars, and when that happens, some things can move quicker than the market itself in terms of recording it can keep up with.
Yep.
And I want to give you an example here. They state in this article, a 1971 Hemi-powered Plymouth Barracuda convertible. Now, it wasn't a Barracuda, it was a Cuda. One of only 7 built, recently sold for $1.5 million. Now, the real scoop on this is what we have heard because of the people that we deal with.
The higher ups in these
places. 1.65 that was the number. Now, we do know from sources that there has been an offer that was turned down on another 71 Hemi Cuda convertible for $2.5 million. Now, that's the 71s. The 70 is a little bit different animal. So 71 Hemi Cuda convertible that we do know right now, there's been an offer for $2.5 million. Now, I get these questions all the time. People say, this how long is this going to last? Is this going to keep going? Is the bubble going to burst? Blah, 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 blah. And it's, I will say that we're in more of an investment mode now than we are selling cars for pleasure. I mean, we did that for a lot of years, and we've had a lot of fun with it. Now people are looking at cars a little bit differently than they did 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I've always looked at these cars as enjoyment, pleasure. I'm proud to own them. I love the sound. I love the performance. I love to go out and drive them. I just love the 60s and early 70s muscle cars. I just love the 60s and early 70s muscle cars. I love some of the 50s cars too. Now we're getting to a point where it's more dollars and cents than it is for the pleasure of it. So this market has totally changed. We saw this coming about a year ago, and we started shifting over to take care of our customers' needs, and now that's where we're at. We're trying to put in the cars here that people want to buy. And I will say that as far as what my opinion is, and I look at this right now and think that we've got a good solid 5 to 10 years for upswing on cars. Now, I just had a good friend of mine in here that I go back with a long time, and he's also a car collector, and he was in here today, and he was telling me, he says, Tony, how can you pay someone pay $1 million or whatever for a Cuda convertible when a Duesenberg should be worth that, if not more? And I said, you know what, I would agree with you in terms of what the Duesenberg is, but I said that, a lot of the people that are into that Duesenberg real true classic quote-unquote market, there isn't the interest level there anymore. Those cars are cars that you can't drive. You have to take those cars, you have to put them up basically in museum pieces. Very difficult to get parts for. They're very difficult to keep running right, to even be able to drive it, and no one's going to take it out on the road. And I mean, you know, what we have with the muscle car era is different than that. It's different because we're not dealing with cars that were created to almost like being artwork. We're dealing with cars that were created to have fun. Cars that you could go out on a Saturday night, go to the hot dog stand, hamburger joint, whatever, pull up, cruise in, talk with some of the people, have a good time, go out, race if you wanted to, because these cars were really built for performance. They weren't built just for cruising around like a cruiser. They were built to perform most of the hardcore muscle cars and what the muscle car era was all about. And that's what I did when I first started driving. When I was driving around, I drove my cars around to look for races, and I went to we had a dog and suds up here where I'd meet everybody, and you couldn't even get into place. By 8 o'clock at night, it was packed, wall-to-wall people and cars. And then we'd stay there for a while, and we'd kind of sort it out, and you know, we'd go race each other for fun, see how fast we can get our cars, do a little bit of work to them, get it running a little bit better, and take them out. And if the guy beat you last week, well, this week you were going to try to beat him because you put on a set of headers or different carburetor or whatever. So, you know, there was a lot of that going on. So when that happens too, you get a lot of cars that aren't original. So it's very difficult now, 35 to 40 years later in some cases, to get an original type car, because there's been so many hands on it and so many things that have been done to it. A lot of people want to, you know, don't remember that, because, you know, these cars just didn't all of a sudden come out of a barn or a building or whatever and were left untouched. You know, that's like our L78 convertible. The car had sit for 15 or so years. So the car needed to be brought back up to where it could be brought out and run and drive and everything. When they sit, it's just, you know, they get sit-itis. So
the rubber starts getting hard, and the upholstery is not quite as supple as it used to be. Stuff cracks real easily. The finish isn't quite as nice as it used to be, etc.
Exactly. But I will say that I honestly feel, because based on the fact of being in this business as long as I have, and I can say that with a lot of surety, that after 26 years, I saw what happened to the Auburns, Duesenbergs, Cords, and cars of that nature, and that's not going to happen to the muscle car market. There's too many people, and it's not just baby boomers. You know, I hear all this stuff. You know, I've got a daughter that's going to be 16, and for the last 3 years, she's been wanting a 69 Camaro. My son is into older cars, and I can't tell you how many sons and daughters of the people that we sell cars to that come in here, and their sons and daughters are into these cars. You know, they don't want a Porsche, they don't want a Mercedes, they don't want a Lamborghini. You know, if you turn on, for example, MTV, you watch music videos, you're going to see in almost every other video,
Mustangs, the GTOs.
Exactly. You're going to see a muscle car, a classic muscle car on those videos, because that is the in thing. And when that makes an impression on the younger people, that's something that they get that itch. They're going to scratch it, but they can't scratch it till they get older, get in the workforce, and make the money to be able to buy one of these cars. And that doesn't ever leave somebody. When that gets in your blood, that's something that you've got to do. It's just like with me in cars, I've always been into cars, even since I was, my first memories that I ever had was cars. That's all I ever thought about was cars. I was car crazy. And there's a lot of younger people that are out there that like that.
Absolutely.
Today. So that is new people, that the new blood that comes into this market. And, you know, 5-10 years from now, for people that it's like my daughter's age, for example, 16 years old. I mean, she goes to school with a lot of the younger people who can set in name GTO, 400 4-speed, 72 Chevelle SS, 70 Chevelle SS, 67 GT 500, so on and so forth. They know cars. So I find that, that is one of the things that is going to keep new people coming into this market, and it's going to keep prices stable. And down the road, they may not be able to afford this now, but once they get out in the workforce, they're going to be able to afford some of these cars. Now, I'm not saying they're going to pay $500,000 for a car, $750,000, $1 million, but they are going to keep this alive. This is going to stay going a lot longer than people are looking at the baby boomers and saying that, when they can't drive anymore, that's going to be it. No, that's not the case, and that's not going to be the case. And what happened with Auburns, Duesenbergs, and Cords, and where those cars are at now, most of them are in museums.
Yep.
So there's going to come a time and a point and a place where thoroughbred, high-end investment muscle cars that we call them right now, those cars are going to wind up down the road in museums. And when you think about an Auburn or a Duesenberg and, let's say a doozy right now at $1 million, $1.5 million or whatever, that, is going to be a common thing pretty soon coming up, that these cars, muscle cars, are going to be in that kind of a league, and they're going to go higher than anyone has ever expected. So we are on the stairway going up with these collections. They're not ever going to be out for sale again until years and years and years comes that the necessary for them to be able to have to do that for whatever reason. So a lot of cars get put away and they don't get brought back out on the market. So as those cars get pulled off and put away on the market, that affects the prices. It doesn't make them go down, it makes them go higher. So that's something to look at too. I know people have talked about the economy and what's going on and the gas and blah, 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 blah. Well, we're always going to be able to get gas probably in our lifetime. The reason why is that there is too much at stake for them to say we're going to be on hydrogen or we're going to go to strictly electricity on the car.
There's a whole lot of money being generated there too.
Evolves on the money that comes out of the oil industry. That's the bottom line. So it ain't going to happen, folks, in our lifetime, okay? Maybe in our grandkids' lifetimes, when they get our age, maybe, yeah, then. But for right now, no. Everything is fossil fuels, and that's the way it's going to continue for a while. So, anyway, I wanted to say a few things about that, and then what I want to do here is to talk about some of the Mopars. I had this marked out to do because... Okay.
Right?
Tape stop running?
Well, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I only need about 10 more minutes, Jeremy, and I'm done. Okay. That's it.
Once again, we are recording again.
No, I'm frozen.
Uh-oh.
No, seriously, we're doing this for the first time, so I just want to let everybody know out there, it's going to take us a while to get used to it. And Jeremy has engineered an automated robot that is moving the camera around, which is pretty cool. So he's doing it by remote control over here, which is a cool thing. Which he's got that in his blood. His father invented the remote control for what was it, Zenith?
My father's name is on the patent for Space Command for Zenith.
Now that's way cool, man, because that was a cool thing. It came out in the 50s, wasn't it?
In the 50s.
And they look like ray guns almost, like.
Well, those are the clickers. Those are the ones that you push the button that goes clunk. There's a brass rod that a little hammer whacks to make the proper sound.
So that's a cool thing. So we got some nostalgia here with that, right, Jeremy?
Yeah.
So anyway, when you get that little box that you're pushing on your TV or VCR or whatever you got to deal with that remote control, just remember, this guy's father was the guy that started that whole thing. So
He made it work, that's for sure.
That's way cool. It's great. I love it, man. But anyway, what we were talking about before we had to change tapes, which I didn't know I was running on so long.
It was pretty funny because I cut off my mic and said, "Tony, we gotta change tapes pretty soon."
Yeah.
So right when he got the last word out, bloop, end the tape. It was great.
And I'm asking Jeremy, we got to change the tape. What's going on?
He wants to know what he missed, what got left out.
Yeah, so I figured we'd edit it. But, yeah, I was getting down here to about the end of what I was talking about. And what I wanted to say here was I'm going to give you the inside scoop right now as far as the Mopars. They are the hot sellers right now. And I'm sure if you look and you go around the internet or you've read anything, you'll see that, the Mopar cars are the cars right now that are really coming up in value, and they are the hot selling collector cars right now. It's going to continue to be that way for quite some time. And the GM stuff right now, when we're talking about Chevelles and Camaros and the GTOs, they're still popular cars. They still have people that want those cars, but a lot of those cars have been restored, and they're not selling at the pace that they were in the mid-90s. They've slowed down because a lot of those cars are restored, and a lot of people that wanted a Chevelle or Camaro or GTO, they now have one. So what we're getting into is the collector car Mopars. They made a lot less of the Mopar products in the 60s and early 70s than GM or Ford did as far as any of the lines of their cars. So all of the cars are low production cars no matter what they are, pretty much.
Yep.
When we're talking about Mopar cars. But I want to tell you the ones that I have picked out here that are cars that are going to really rise in value, and cars that are already
listen up, everybody,
in value. And I'm going to give you the years, because not all years are ones that you would say, oh, that's, I have this or I have that, but the years are important too. Then, obviously, that options and how it's equipped and paperwork and numbers and colors and things like that fall into the equation. But when we're talking about a Demon, now Demons are hot and Demons are going to come up in value, and Demons are great cars that you can get into now and buy at a reasonable amount of money. We're not talking about a 446 pack, and we're not talking about Hemis, and we're not talking about this high-end, real high-end stuff that's getting in the stratosphere like the Hemi Cuda convertibles, but these are real honest-to-God working man car that you can buy that's going to go up in value. And the 340 Demons, that's the hot one. The H code cars, and the years for that is 1970 to 1972. So in that year for the Demon, the Dodge Demon, we're looking at 70, 71, and 72. Now, the darts are another car that is a hot car in the Mopar line, but we're looking at 68 and 69 for the 383 cars. The GTS, those are extremely rare. There's not very many of those around. And once those cars are all gone, there isn't going to be that many available, because they didn't make very many of those cars at all in 1968 or 69. Also, I will say that 68, 69, 70, 340 cars, the GTs, those are also a very good investment car. And it's a car that you get into reasonable now, and you don't have to pay 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000 or whatever. These are cars that you can get into, have a lot of fun. It's very unique, and they're going to rise and go up in value. The Dodge Coronet RT, the RTs is the 440. That's the base motor that's in those particular cars. Then you stepped up, you went to the 446 pack or the Hemi. The RT cars from 68, 1968, 69, 70. Those are great years, and those are hot cars. GTXs from 1968 to 1970, 68, 69, 70. All colors, all of those years, all of those cars came with a base engine of 440. The option was 446 pack, and 426 Hemi. So those are the hot ones. Super Bs were cars that came out in 1968. 68 is the first year for that car, so it looks a little bit different than a 69. 69, I would say, is a little bit more popular, but nevertheless, 68 is still a popular car. But the base engine in that package was 383. So your Super B cars, 68 and up. Even the what I call the second gen cars, like 1971, where they have a total different body style change, a radical change. Those cars now become extremely popular, and they are bringing a lot of money right now, Jeremy. The all 446 pack cars from the years 1968 to 71. It includes the Roadrunners, GTX Charger, Coronet RT, E-Body CUDA Challenger, and Super Bs. Extremely hot investment cars, and these are cars that are going to dramatically rise over the next 6 months to a year. So these are cars that
and beyond that too.
Yeah, beyond that, but cars rise to a certain point and then they kind of level off,
plateau,
and then they go up and they maintain maybe a 10% rise. But these cars are in some cases, some of these cars could double in the past 6 months and a year. And some Mopar cars, they have doubled and tripled and quadrupled in price. So there's some of these cars that you need to look at. E-bodies are always hot cars. The years for those, though, is 1970 and 71. And the CUDA, and I'm not saying a 72 or 73 or 74 is not worth any money. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying the cars that are worth the most money is 1970 and 71 CUDAs. H-code 340, very hot, 383, 440, 446 pack, and Hemi cars. Challengers, the same thing. 1970 to 72, I'll give that extra year on the Challenger. The Challenger was always not looked at like the CUDA in terms of performance so much. It was more of a more option type car, so you can get a little bit more option. You see more of those cars out there with a lot of options on it, and I would say that most of the ones that I've seen as far as the Challengers were equipped with a little bit more equipment than most of the E-body CUDAs. So,
like that police car we had just a little while ago.
Yes, but definitely the E-body CUDA will always and is today worth more money than the Challenger. That's they made more Challengers, so that's one of the reasons why. So the more that's of something that has been produced, then that affects the value of a car in terms of the production number. So anything that has a lesser production number,
it costs you more.
Exactly, and that's the way that it remains, and that's the way that it is. And I just want to go back to this article, and we can get things wrapped up here, Jeremy. They're pointing out here, too, about the rise on some of the prices, and I don't agree with everything that they have here. But they point out bid inflation. A 1970 Superbird with a 426 Hemi sold at auction in January 2003 for $145,800. The same car sold in January 2004 for $194,400. Now, I've heard since then that some of those cars have approached and reached and exceeded $250,000. So wow. Things have moved quite rapidly in the market, and especially with the Mopar cars. The Mopar cars got hot in the 80s and late 80s, but a lot of people didn't understand them. Now they understand them more. More parts are being made available for interiors and soft seal, the weather stripping, and trim parts and chrome parts, and so on and so forth. So this is a market that I see, that's going to continue to rise in value. Right now is the Mopar cars. So that's pretty much what I would consider to tell anyone the inside scoop of what's going on. And I've talked about those Mopar cars, and don't get me wrong, I mean, there's still all the the Chevelles and the Camaros and the GTOs and the Shelbys and the rare Mustangs and the Mach 1s and the Boss 429s and a lot of other rare muscle cars that are going up in value right now, all the way across the board. But Mopar cars have had the most movement in them because of probably one of the things that I would say in agreement with this article is that the new versions of these cars that have been created and a big reinsurgence of excitement about that. Hemi truck, for example, and the Hemi motors that they're now putting in the other versions. They started out with a Hemi truck, and they've got some great commercials out there. So, you know, that causes a lot of excitement. And I just want to tell the boys on board there with GM, get off your butt and do something, man. Because you know what? I'm a diehard Chevy guy. I've got my first one and only new car that's in this showroom that we're sitting in. And, you know, I love my Chevy. So you Chevy guys don't get mad at me because I'm talking Mopars, but I love Mopars too. I love all these old cars. But I'm a diehard Chevy guy. And you know what? I got to tell the guys at Chevy and the rest of GM, get off your butt and do something, man, because you guys need to get something in the works to catch up with what Chrysler is doing and what Ford is doing, man. They are just blowing your doors off. The 205 Mustang is coming out, and I got to tell you, Jeremy, car is awesome, man. I've looked at photographs of these, and it's just an awesome car, and it's going to be a hot seller.
It's got to be. I don't know if you've seen the GTO, but that new GTO is a good-looking piece too. It's a good start for GM.
Yeah, I think so, and that's a good thing that they brought that back. And you know, I do like that car, but you know, we need more. We need.
It's
more
a good start, guys.
You know, they need to answer the call because most of the other car makers, and I know that during the '90s. Chrysler has been answering that. They came out with the Viper, you know. They came out with a Prowler. You know, they've really made some exciting cars. You know, they brought out the Hemi. They've renamed it, put it into trucks. Now they're putting it into cars. They make a Rumblebee, which is like a Super Bee, but that's available in the Hemi trucks. They have the GTX Hemi truck that's out now, special production. Low original number. So I mean, you know, there's some really cool things that they're doing, and I think it's great that you know, they've finally taken a look at what the classic car market has been saying and been doing for years, and now they're trying to focus in on the muscle cars, and they're trying to say, hey, you know what, we need to get something out here because we want to get some of this market. We want to get some of the excitement back into the new cars that we're producing. And let's face it, the new technology that they have today, far superior to what it was in the 60s and early 70s. The cars get better gas mileage. They don't pollute the air as much. They ride and drive so much better. They're much more refined, and they're great vehicles. So they've come a long way with the technology. And you know what? Our sons and daughters today are going to be driving some of the cars that they're making. So, hey, you know, I'm all for it.
It's time to just give the next generation something to play with.
Exactly. So anyway, Jeremy, we're wrapping up one of our first broadcasts that we've done as far as a video broadcast, and I know it's going to take Jeremy a long time to produce this, so I want to tell him thanks because he does a great job here, and we're glad to have him. He's here working for us on a daily basis at Northern Illinois Classic Auto Brokers. I can't talk, you know.
That's okay.
I'm a little worn out, but he's doing a great job here, and we really appreciate it. And also, he's doing a great job with the videos, and we're going to get going with our show and get it on track. And we'll be out there more, especially this summer, doing a lot of cool things, and we'll be telling you about that as we do more shows to going along here. So, you know, tell all your friends about us. Tell them to come in, watch what's going on, because we've been doing this a long time, and we do know what's going on with this market. And we're going to give you the straight scoop. We're going to give you all the straight information the way that we know it, to the best of our ability. And I also want to say thanks again to Albert who is one of our other offsite techs that does a great job with what we've got going here on the internet. So, and most importantly, I want to say thanks to all of you who attend our website, classicmusclecars.com. I want to tell you again, keep those emails coming. We appreciate it, and it makes my time here worth it when I get positive feedback, because I'm not out here just doing this because I'm on an ego trip. I really enjoy doing it, and I love this business. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So you make it all worth it for us to be able to do this. And when I get calls and I get emails that come here, it makes it feel like we're doing a job that people are understanding more. And education in this industry is very important, because without it, there's a lot of pitfalls out there. So we're glad to be able to take a part in what we feel is helping to educate people in terms of what these cars are and what they're all about.
It's a public service provided to you by Northern Illinois Classic Auto Brokers
and ClassicMuscleCars.com. So to everyone, thank you very, very much. And you know what, Jeremy? We haven't done this for a long time. We always tell everybody,
sync, man.
What do we want them to do?
Keep cruising. And we're going to finish this off with Terrible Ted and the Amboy Dukes' Journey to the Center of the Mind. Let's see if this thing actually works.
And find the pleasures of the journey to the center of the mind. Come along if you care. Come along if you dare. Take a ride to the land inside of your mind. Beyond the seas of thought, beyond the realm of what, across the streams of hopes and dreams where things are really not. Come along if you care. Come along if you dare. Take a ride to the land inside of your mind. But please realize you'll probably be surprised, for it's a land unknown to man where fantasy is back. So if you can, please understand, you might not come back. Time to journey to the center of the mind. Center of the mind.
Night all.